know that we hear a lot of information in this meeting, especially avoiding Codswallop. We are now going to go into our introduction of our educational headliner. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Donna Stark, who will be speaking from the Engaging Humor, Level 5, Prepare to Speak Professionally. We do not have an evaluator assigned. Someone would like to volunteer to do that. I see Melanie's hand go up. Yes, thank you. That would be awesome. We'll connect you together as well, so Donna can do that. I'm taught no free speeches. We could do it without, but why not take advantage of it? We're Toastmasters. Donna Stark is a Toastmaster 20-something. She joined Toastmasters just over 21 years ago. She's discovered humor, that using humor is fun, and she is on her second trip through the engaging humor path and has been a Toastmaster long enough to remember the old humorous advanced manuals. Donna is particularly interested in encouraging people who don't believe in their own sense of humor. She recently added a stand-up comedy performance to her resume. She'll share some of what she learned from that experience and some of her go-to for giggles. We did have a wonderful video for her on our YouTube page, so I hope you had the opportunity to do that. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Donna Stark.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Find your funny Toastmasters Club. I feel like I'm at home with my people. But even among people who study humor like us, I frequently hear, I'm not funny, or I wish I was funnier, or I'm not funny enough. And that just breaks my heart. I believe that every Toastmaster can incorporate humor into our presentations, but you don't need to believe me. I Googled it. Can a person learn to be funny? 141 million-ish results, all positive. Yes, undoubtedly yes. Good news, it's a skill. Yes, you can. And I'm here to tell you, if you see it on the internet, it must be true, right? Full transparency. I am not a bold, brave, step outside of my comfort zone kind of woman. The I'm not funny enough gremlin lives in my thoughts too. I wouldn't even be a Toastmaster if it wasn't for the manager in my organization who was forming a Toastmasters club, and she had 19 recruits. We all know she needed 20. Did I mention she was higher on the organizational chart than I was? Yeah, I became a Toastmaster. Toastmasters introduced me to using humor in presentations. If there was a humor session at a conference, I was there. I welcomed the engaging humor path with open arms, couldn't wait to dive in. The 2001 Toastmasters World Champion, you may have heard of him, Darren LaCroix, said, buy the Judy Carter books. I bought the books. Darren teamed up with his comedy mentor, Chris McGuire, and started offering funny story webinars and workshops. And I was there. I watched comedy on YouTube. I'd sneak onto the stage after local comedy shows. Imagine what it would be like to do an actual stand-up routine. Would I have the nerve? For years, I talked a good, I want to try stand-up comedy game. I'd done a lot of studying, but not so much doing. And my people were starting to call me on it. My grandson, hey, Grams, when's the show? My mentor called me one afternoon. Donna, you said it's a bucket list item. Are you gonna? And then I mentioned it to Jane, the headliner at a local comedy show. Please do it, she said. There aren't enough women in comedy, and we need your voice. That struck a chord. It wasn't about what I wanted. Jane said I was needed. I'm a Toastmaster. I could do this, right? I wanted to take a class that would have a final showcase. kind of like a dance class recital, but for baby comedians. Now, remember, I'm not the bold, brave, go to open mic nights kind of girl by myself. I needed the structure. And I had to go to Portland, Oregon to find it. Inconvenient because of the drive, 2 hours up for a 2-hour class, 2 hours back, 6 Sundays in a row. Yet also strangely comforting because I wouldn't have to perform in front of anyone I know. I walked into the club for that first class and watched the rest of the students and the teacher trickle in, and they looked so comfortable being there. Some had been through a class before. They had a cool factor that I didn't have, and they were certainly younger. Let me tell you, the things people talk about in a comedy club are not the kinds of things we talk about in Toastmasters. Other students were talking about things that I didn't even understand. I was in the corner with my phone, Googling terms in Urban Dictionary and clutching my proverbial pearls. People actually talk about things like that in public. I didn't want to go back, but I'd made a commitment to my grandkids, to my mentor, to myself, and I still wanted that experience to try doing stand-up on a stage. I was at a point where it would be less uncomfortable to stick it out than to quit. Class number 2, our first opportunity to present. Now, you may have heard the quote from our founder, Ralph Smedley, "The unprepared speaker has a right to feel afraid." I'm here to tell you the same is true for the unprepared comedian. It was not the laughter-filled set I'd hoped for. What was I thinking? Why did I do this? I don't belong here. This isn't Toastmasters. I'm not funny. And I remembered Jane. We need your voice. It took 4 more classes before I started to find my style. I was the class's token baby boomer. That I was different didn't matter. In fact, it was my superpower. I did start getting laughs. The final showcase was more fun than I even could have imagined. There were 5 of us left standing, all with very different styles, very different material based on our own life experiences. Just before the show, we were all hanging around in the green room, and one of the students said, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think I'm funny." But the thing is, he was. We all were. Not everything hit, but we were funny enough. Okay, boomer isn't normally meant as a compliment, but among my classmates, okay, boomer is now a term of endearment. Jane was right. There was a place for my unique voice. I left the class a changed person. I had done it. I did a stand-up set on stage with lights, with a microphone. And I have video proof. And here is where we will find out if this baby boomer can overcome technology challenges and actually share it. Optimize for video sharing. I am determined to make this work. Do I have permission to share?
You have plenty of permission to share.
All righty then.
Now, I realize that technically I am in the age range, but I don't feel like a boomer. I do technology. I text, LOL, OMG, WTF. I'm friends with Alexa. Let's check Google. Okay, Google, what are some characteristics of the baby boomer generation? Tend to be conservative? Nah. Resistant to change? Not really. Boomers are known for taking home sauce packets from restaurants. I'm a boomer.
Am I going to be the next comedian on The Tonight Show? Probably not. I may never do it again. But I felt a sense of accomplishment, of contentment, and putting the concepts I learned into practice has kicked my humor radar into overdrive. Now, what do I mean by humor radar? It's noticing anything that makes you feel. When something happens or you see something that triggers an emotion, annoyance, frustration, impatience, embarrassment, oh, I live there a lot, make a note of it. That is your humor detector going off saying there's an opportunity for humor. You need to figure out what's the message? What's the lesson? Personal example, it's said that humor equals tragedy plus time. Sometimes it takes a whole lot of time. I am not yet ready to share my own wardrobe malfunction story. I do have one. But someday it may help illustrate the message that we don't literally die of embarrassment. This is in my humor folder. You've probably heard the story of the humor folder or the story folder before. You record your random thoughts and photos, you put them in the folder. Hard copy, electronic, it doesn't matter as long as you use it. Go back and review it. What are the potential messages these things can convey? Revisit it often. Your cell phone, also known as the electronic leash, is a great tool for collecting humor. When you see something that amuses you, take a picture. Go through your phone some evening when you're sitting on the couch instead of watching TV, or while you're watching TV, scroll through and find those memories. You'll have some giggles and you'll potentially free up some storage space. Some of my favorites. The truck says Swift. It is not. You will notice that it was ahead of me, however. Bumper stickers. They're some of my favorites. 0 to 60 eventually. Another slow-moving vehicle. That was also ahead of me. Perhaps learning patience and speaking about how to improve your patience. That might be one of my future topic areas. I love bumper stickers, as I said. This one, which I didn't quite capture all of, oh no, not another learning experience. I came across this the day after I was elected program quality director in my district. It was a message. And one of my favorite things that makes me giggle. This is a sign in the parking garage where I work. I take it personally. I think it was directed at me. It's an insult. These little moments, if something causes a reaction in you, take that picture of it because it will come in handy someday. Get to know and love your own humor style. You don't have to be like anybody else. I am a huge fan of Jeannie Robertson, the late Jeannie Robertson, but I can't be here, but I can learn from her. What amuses you? Wordplay, puns, dad jokes, sarcasm. We call it starcasm in my house. Physical humor. I know enough about myself to know that I won't do this one. If I fall down on stage, I assure you it will not be intentional. And the next line will definitely be, I've fallen and I can't get up. Know your audience. They'll have their own ideas of what's funny and what's not. The more you know about your audience and the setting will help you uncover appropriate opportunities for humor and potentially topics you want to avoid. Judy Carter has said that comedy or humor is a lot like fixing dinner. Not everyone is going to like what you cook. I raised 3 kids. I've cooked a lot of dinners and never did everyone hate it either. So whether it's dinner or humor, fix what you like. As I said, study comedians you like, but don't compare yourself to them. You're on your own journey. I follow follow/stock, potato, Darren LaCroix and Chris McGuire. I'm a fan of Stephanie McHugh, Henry Cho, Brad Upton. And as I said, love the storytelling style of the late Jeannie Robertson. Yeah, would love to have that wit, but it's a matter of developing it for me and for you. Lean into your uniqueness. Chris McGuire refers to them as quirks. I like to call them features. Perhaps the pens and post-it notes in your office are sorted by color. Are you frugal? Do you put your toilet paper on the roll with it coming out the bottom? Or do you do it right and have it come out the top? If you aren't aware of any of your features, ask your spouse. They'll either be happy to share or they'll get a deer in the headlights look. Then go to your best friend. One of the biggest takeaways I've gotten from Chris McGuire is don't let humor get in the way of your message. We've talked about humorous concepts, but remember that in a presentation, humor isn't the star. Your message is the star. Humor plays a supporting role. And then there's the Nike Just Do It theory. Whether you take a class, a writing class, a stand-up class, improv, which is great not just for humor, great for table topics, practice your craft as often as possible. I hope you're relentlessly signing up for speaking opportunities at all of your clubs and reach out to others. I truly believe, and Google confirms, you can incorporate humor in your next presentation. But it's not enough that I believe it. You need to believe it too. We study humor. The next step is to do it. I challenge you to take your next step. Buy that book. Join that improv class. Find Your Funny Toastmasters is a built-in group of study buddies. Take advantage of that opportunity. If Jane were here, she'd tell you, we need your voice. Believe. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Donna. Please give a great big round of applause. Yes, this is the place to do it. Those of us who walk through the door saying, I don't think I can do this, to I might want to try, to the point of, oh my gosh, I actually got a few laughs. Isn't that a wonderful feeling? So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, Donna. Next, we are going to move to our first scheduled speaker of our members. It's going to be Melanie Chong. She is going to be speaking from Presentation Mastery, Level 1, Evaluation and Feedback, speech number 2.